Happy Friday, all my beautiful angels. Welcome back to my channel. It's me, your girl Shyla, here with another video. I hope that you guys all had an amazing week. I hope that you guys are all ready to kick it off with an amazing weekend. I didn't do much this week. All I did was film some videos, take some pictures on Tuesday, and then worked the rest of the week. So at least I got work going on. You have no idea how good it feels to just know that I am working again, know that I have, not have to lay around stressing about work all the time. Today, we are going to have a very special video. Today, we are going to be talking about my 6-month post SRS update, another trans topics video. I'm so excited. I just passed the 6-month mark. Just this last week. It wasn't even a week ago, just this last week. And so I thought I would share what's going on, give you guys the details, let you guys know what to expect if you're planning to have surgery, let you know what to expect if you're going to be doing recovery or if you're thinking about it, and just share with you a little bit of my journey. But before we get started, take a second, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the little bell button. That way you're notified whenever I post a new video. If you're new here, I post every Tuesday and every Friday. And as usual, if you're a returning subscriber, I appreciate every single one of you. If you're a new subscriber or returning subscriber, make sure you do have that bell button turned on. That way you are notified whenever I post a new video. Also, don't forget to check out my Instagram. Post there every day. I post stories, I post polls, I post questions. We get to be friends, we get to be interactive. Just don't be creepy, because I am not about that creepy life. So like I said, we just passed the 6-month mark. I'm super excited about it. Some of the things that have been going on since we passed the 6-month mark. For those that do not know, I am a transgender girl. I have been transitioning for like 3 years. I just had my surgery in February for my SRS surgery. And for those that aren't familiar, that means sexual reassignment surgery. So I now have a vagina. Also, if you are underage or a young kid, I am making this video just for educational purposes. So if you are too young, you should not be watching this video. Exit out now. And if you are sensitive to transgender topics, also exit out now. I'm making this purely for educational purposes, but I will be talking about things that are kind of graphic, maybe TMI, maybe stuff that bothers you, etc., etc., etc. Anyway, with all that being said and all my little disclaimers going out, amazes me, even though I have disclaimers, I still get people that report the video for should be 18 and up. People, right? People. Anyway, so some of the things I talked about that was going on with my last video, I rewatched it for my 3-month video. One of the things I want to talk about is moisture. And I talked about that in my last video, like having excess moisture at night because everything is healing. 6 months in, it's kind of up and down. Sometimes I have it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I have it more, sometimes I have it less. Sometimes I have it during the day. It's all part of the healing process. And I have been told from other people that had it that sometimes it could take, up to a year for everything to be fully healed. And, it just kind of happens. Sometimes there's more of it, sometimes there's less of it. It just depends on the person. Every single person is different. So definitely if you were having the surgery, expect there to be moisture going on down there. More, for more discharge than normal. Just because everything is healing and it's just something that you have to deal with. Next thing I talked about in my last video was I talked about dilating and I talked about scar tissue. Now at the 3-month mark, like I talked about last time, I was able to drop down from 4 times dilating a day to 2 times dilating a day, but I had to increase that to 3 times dilating a day. 3, I almost did a 4 again. 3 times dilating a day because I did have some scar tissue and I was having some issues with the dilator going in. I am still using the number 4 dilator. After about half the time, after about a month and a half, I was able to drop down to twice a day without having the issue anymore, and it seemed like the scar tissue went away. Recently, at the 6-month mark, you can drop down to 1 time dilating a day, which is really nice depending on how everything is going. So I did that recently this week, and the verdict is still out. The first couple of days, I noticed it was fine. But then this morning I noticed I did have it did feel really, really tight getting it deep to the 6 inches. So I'll probably re-increase back up to the twice a day for the majority of the week, maybe once a day, depending on how tired I am on other days of the week. So it's kind of a thing where you have to listen to your body, even though it says at that point you can change to how many times a day you're supposed to be dilating. If it is difficult or you find it hard, you definitely need to increase while everything finishes healing until you can decrease later. So you kind of have to listen to your body. Everybody's different. It is nice to only be doing it once a day. It feels so weird going down to just once a day. I feel like I'm like not doing it as much as I should be, just because dilating has been such a big part of my life for the last 6 months. Anyway, if you have surgery, you'll get what I'm talking about. Anyway, what else did I talk about? I talked about orgasms. I still have not had an orgasm, but in my defense, I've been under a lot of stress lately. I haven't really been trying. I did talk about not losing my sexual desires or my, I can't think of the word I'm looking for when I use in the last one, but I still have not lost my libido. That is fine. I have no problem with that. But I will say, something I will say that I didn't talk about in the last one is that urge to have release that you felt that I felt before I had the surgery. I feel like that's not there anymore. I don't really feel like I have that urge to have that need to have a release that I used to have all the time back with my old equipment. So it's not like a matter of I've been trying. I haven't really put any effort in. I have been under a lot of stress. If you watched my last video, you get what I'm talking about. So I haven't really tried since the last time I tried. Who knows, it hasn't been on like the top of my mind. So everything still works down there. I just don't know. I haven't really tried. Another thing I talked about in the last video was I talked about stitches. I had clitoral stitches, some really thick ones in my last video that were still there. Those finally dissolved around the 4.5 month mark is when those finally dissolved. So all the stitches are finally dissolved. They're gone. So something to look forward to. Yay. When you're going in between months 3 and month 6 is that those stitches in the top of your clitoris are finally going to dissolve and they won't be there anymore, which is nice because those are like they're thick and they're hard and they're like, you know, when you're washing down there you feel them and they're like, get what I'm saying. Anyway, some new things. I have cat fur on my face. That's what I keep grabbing at, is I could feel something and it was a piece of cat fur. I was petting the cat earlier. His fur gets everywhere. Crazy how short hair cats, they still shed so much. Anyway, some new stuff between month 4 and month 6. I already talked about the dilating, which is really nice. Phone's vibrating. I have it here because I have some questions going. One thing I did notice, and I don't know if this is TMI, so if it's TMI, just skip ahead. Don't watch this part. It's TMI. Sorry. So one thing that did happen is I noticed around like the 4.5 month mark, I started having some, not really bleeding, but some blood in the lube and discharge when I was dilating, and I was really concerned about it. So I contacted my doctor's office, and they told me that it is like an overgrowth of healthy tissue. I can't remember the name that they used for it, but it is like something that, granulated tissue, which is something that can happen, and it can go away on its own. It could take longer, but if you do notice that, I wasn't noticing bleeding throughout the day, and it wasn't like I was like, you know, bleeding. I just noticed like a little bit of it in my dilating. If that does happen and you notice that later on, just contact your doctor's office. And generally, my doctor's office has something they could prescribe for me, and like a procedure to follow to help get rid of it quicker, because I mean, you don't want to just keep like bleeding every time you're dilating. It was like scary at first. I was like, oh my god, am I bleeding? Did I rip something in there? But it can happen. It just depends on the person. It's totally normal. Don't stress out if it does happen to you. Now I'm gonna talk about it. I didn't advertise it on there because I didn't want the whole video to get like censored, but I'm gonna talk about my first time. So after the 3 month mark, you could have sex, depending on how you're healing. So I'm not going to get too in depth in it, but I did have sex. I did try it. I did try her out, and with a boy that I met. And I'm not going to get too in depth in it, but I'm not going to lie. It did hurt at first. It's obviously feeling a lot different from a dilator, and he didn't last very long, fortunately enough, but it felt good after a little bit, after everything kind of loosened up and got used to it. But I definitely understand where my sisters come from that I had talked to about it, where they say that they prefer, you know, the backdoor entry as opposed to using their new girl because it's something that you're used to. You're used to the way that it feels back there, and you're more confident in the way everything feels back there. And just because you can have it after the 3-month mark doesn't mean you necessarily could. You might want to wait a little longer till it's healed a little bit better. I imagine once it's more healed, everything is going to feel better. But, you know, it was still pleasant. It still felt good after it like loosened up and the pain went away. But I'm not going to get too more in depth in that. So I hope nobody underage is watching it. But I have used it. I have tried it out. And the verdict was that I was told that it felt amazing. So happy about how she feels down there. Anyway, we're gonna move on from that. Do have a good story for you I want to talk to you guys about. Little story time real quick, and then I'm gonna get into some questions I have, and then we're gonna be all done. Quick story time. One of the cons that I do have about my new girl down there is, as I talked about, I recently got hired for a job and I had to go for my first drug test, and it was a pee test. And you know, you're already getting used to new equipment, and some of this might be TMI, but whatever. So you're getting used to your new equipment, and so I'm in there, and I didn't expect the drug test that day. So I was in there in my heels trying to hover over this toilet, trying to figure out where to put this cup to do this pee test. You know, because you're used to, you're used to, if you're used to one set of equipment, and then you have to get used to a new set of equipment for a pee test is completely different. So I'm down there trying to figure it out. And once you have surgery, while everything is healing down there, when you do pee, it's not, and if this is TMI, like I said, just skip ahead a little bit, like 10 seconds or so. After surgery, it's not coming out it's not always going to be in like a solid stream coming out. Sometimes it's kind of splattery, sometimes it's all over the place because everything is healing down there. And so I'm there and I'm squatting over this toilet and I got this thing down there, and first of all I'm trying to figure out where it's going to come out at because I'm not used to that. And then I don't know if it's like actually going in there when I'm going pee because I don't know if it's splattering everywhere or if it's coming out in a stream. So I'm like trying to pee, but I'm trying to not pee too much so I can like pull out and check. It was like a whole thing. It is like a whole thing trying to figure out how to do a pee test after surgery. That's a thing. Trust me, any girls that have this surgery, you're gonna get what I'm talking about. Especially being a bigger girl like me, because you're already squatting over the toilet. That's a lot of squatting, you know. It's in my heels doing squatting. Anyway, I'm digressing. So, all in all, I am still very happy with it. I have zero complaints. I am, you know, there was a little bit of bleeding that frightened me, and other than that, everything has been going good. So we're gonna do some questions real quick, and then we'll be all done. Earlier today, I put up a little Q&A on my YouTube, asking if anybody had any questions for my post-op surgery, and we'll see if anybody had any questions that were, you know, appropriate and worth answering. So let's jump in here real fast. So, first question has absolutely nothing to do with my surgery. What's your favorite sexy outfit? Post a picture out right here. Just a little nightgown I wear that I like because I'm a big girl and it hides my stomach. Just being honest. Next question I have is from It's Zoe 90. Are you happy with how it looks, and did everything meet expectations? Question to that is yes, I am very happy with how she looks, especially considering that I haven't had the second surgery that my doctor does, which is the labiaplasty, for your inner labia, like I talked about in my last one, and your clitoral hood. For just having the first surgery, I am very, very pleased with how everything looks down there now that the swelling is gone. Did everything meet expectations? So far, everything has met expectations. Everything works good. Everything that's happened has happened. I know that I have sensitivity and feeling down there. Just because I haven't made it to the point of having orgasm doesn't mean that it doesn't work. That's just I haven't made it that far yet in my journey. I am very happy that I chose Dr. Lay to do my surgery. She was absolutely amazing and did a fantastic job. Strongly recommend her. And then I have some questions that have absolutely nothing to do with my surgery. What is the youngest age you will date? I don't even know. Would you give anyone a chance? Short answer to that one is no. I'm not attracted to you. I'm not going to give you a chance. Just how it is. Here's one that for some reason, every time I throw up a Q&A, I'm going to pause on this one. Sometimes every time I throw up a Q&A, I get this question. I don't know if it's from the same boy. I don't know if it's from different boys, but for some reason, this is a thing for boys, and I don't know why they are so obsessed with this. No disrespect. Whenever you start something with no disrespect, you should probably think about what you're asking if you feel like you need to put that in there. But are you a fully functional woman now? Now, I don't know why boys are so obsessed with this. And let me talk to my trans sisters out there. Just because I had the surgery and this was part of my journey doesn't mean that you need to have this surgery to feel like a woman. It's just what it is. You can keep your whatever equipment you want, post-surgery, pre-surgery, you can keep what you have down there. You don't need to have a vagina to feel like a woman. And don't let anyone on social media or your family or any boy make you feel like you have to have surgery to be considered a fully functional woman. I don't know why I get this question asked to me, and it drives me absolutely nuts when I get asked this question. So obviously, if I'm making this video, I have a vagina. So if that's what you're wondering, yes, I have a vagina. It was literally you could have probably figured that out by my 6-month SRS post-op Q&A. Probably could have figured out I have a vagina just from that. Another one that has nothing to do with the video. What's a hobby you'd like to have? I don't even know. I'd like to travel more. I love traveling. And then somebody asked me if my eyes were my natural color. Yes, my eyes are naturally this color. So not a lot of Q&A about the actual surgery itself, but it is what it is. Other than that, I hope that you guys liked the video. If you guys have any questions about my surgery or about the surgery, not extra questions about my personal life. I have other Q&As for that. If you have any questions about the surgery, any of my sisters have any questions or are going to have surgery and want to know something, let me know down below and I will do my best to answer them. Other than that, I hope that you guys have an amazing weekend and I will see you guys back on Tuesday with another video. Love you all.